Well, I just went to the grocery store, and I dread doing that. I mean, I've always dreaded doing that, but I really dread doing it, now, to see all the people in the masks, and you get all the stares, and you never know if someone's going to accost you, or if someone's going to be nasty to you and start whatever. But it's just really sad. You hear these people in there, every other person is COVID, COVID, COVID. It's like COVID's their new god. It's really insane. But, I can imagine that 2020 was probably really hard on a lot of people. Like, it wasn't that hard on me. And I think it's because I've been isolated so long. And I've already been at, like, a lot of this, doing self-reflection and stuff. So having to spend a lot of time with myself is not a problem. But I can see how it totally was or is for people. For a lot of people, and one thing I forgot to mention yesterday in the video that I wanted to really point out was success is subjective, okay? Success is achieving a goal and with a good outcome, any goal that you set. So, the American dream of, 2 kids and a dog and a job and all that, that is not everyone's dream. Some people want to travel the world and be rock climbers. Some people want to help others. Some people want to be, work with kids. Some people want to work with animals. Some people want to build things. Some people despise kids. Some people despise animals. Whatever it is. The school system, of course, tries to mold us into, one size fits all. Everybody, let's be a slave and work a 40-hour work week. I mean, the school system, if they actually were for the betterment of the people, they would direct some people into trades, some people into college, some people into different areas. They would teach things like personal finance. They would teach your actual rights. They would teach home economics and actual home economics. How to cook, how to grow a garden, how to repair things, how to, useful information. But they don't do that because then, we might not be as easily manipulated as adults. So, we're just taught a bunch of useless facts in school that we never use. But then people like to gloat and go around and they're like, oh, I have a degree in history. It's like, so you have a degree in lies and you're happy about it. Okay, good for you, PhD in history. Wait, I hope you don't wake up because you're really going to have a hard time because your whole life's a lie. Now, and that's not these people's fault. I mean, I get that, but, it is their fault that they're not willing to learn new information. So, I'm sidebarring here, though. So anyway, back to the American dream. And it's not everyone's dream. So, I actually babysat for these people when I was 16 years old. And I've known several people that are like this. But people that have kids because they think they're supposed to. Or because that is what everyone else is doing. These poor children, they had 3 kids, okay, and the reason I hooked up with these people, I worked at a daycare after school in the 12th grade. That was my job, 21 3-year-olds in a class. Talk about birth control. Anyways, so one of these kids I babysat for outside of work. And so there was him, he was the oldest, he was almost 4. And then there was one that was under 1, and there was a 2-year-old. So, 4, 2, and 1, back to back to back. So what these people would do is, and I didn't realize this, until I worked for them for a month or 2, but what these people would do is, say, they would hire me. Now, at first, I'd babysat for them in the evening, so I didn't realize they were doing this, okay? So, like, I'd come over in the evening, say 7 o'clock, and, and they'd go out to, like, midnight, and then whatever. They'd take me back home, or if I drove, I'd drive home, whatever. But then, one day, she called and asked me if I would come babysit during the day, like on a Saturday, and I'm like, sure, okay. And she told me, she was like, well, I'm going to be home, but I really got to get some cleaning done and everything, so I need you to like kind of sit with the kids so that I can get the stuff done. Okay. Come to find out, they did this every weekend. They had a daytime babysitter and then a nighttime babysitter. And they actually ended up not hiring me anymore after I refused to cancel my New Year's Eve plans at the spur of the moment because their babysitter had canceled. And they were offering to, you can keep our car overnight. You can keep it all weekend. You can do it, And I just said no. I mean, basically and they were going to pay me a whole lot of money. And I basically just told them my morals can't be bought. I mean, I'm sorry, I have other plans. And they never hired me again. But those poor kids. So this one time, I asked her, I said, why did you all have these kids? And she said, well, because we felt like it was what we were supposed to do. And I was like, well, after you had the first one and you realized it wasn't for you, you didn't like... And I mean, she basically just says that the last two were accidents. And it's like, oh, damn, And these kids are grown now. I wonder how they are. But I might have to look them up on Facebook. But then later on, about 12 years later, my husband was talking about a lady. And he said her name. And it was that lady. She was evidently one of the clients at his office because she went to pick up one of her children at a friend's house and did not see the kid's brother lying in the driveway and ran him over. Like, oops. She was on her cell phone or something. And, yeah. Wow. But my point is that, I mean, those children, all three of those children, I mean, I know that they picked up on the fact that they were a burden and that they weren't wanted. And I am sure that these people just bought their love and tried to. And it's hard to tell what the emotional turmoil inside a child like that would be if you knew that you truly weren't wanted. And we've really just got to stop living for what other people tell us to do. And we've got to do what our hearts tell us to do. Period. We've got to follow our hearts. I mean, doing what everyone else wants is kind of, I think, how we've ended up in some of this mess here. And not standing up for what we feel is right and just going along with it and just not saying anything. I mean, you have to comprehend that as far as these dark forces and all of that are concerned, I mean, you can think that, you're not participating, but silence is consent. So unless you're actively speaking out against what they're doing and saying you don't consent, you may be consenting. Waking up isn't an easy task, and it's not for the faint of heart. But try to keep a positive outlook. I mean, we are more fortunate than those that are just still out here zombified. And we have at least a shot of getting out of this prison. One more thing I thought I'd say here is I do have two things planned to do on this channel this upcoming week. One is there was an article that I read a few years ago that I really enjoyed, and then it came up in conversation the other day, and I looked that article up again, and I would like to share it on here. For one, it's very interesting. I'd like to share it with you, but then also it's a record of the article should I lose it again. And then there is a book that I read recently that I have read actually a couple of times. It's only 160 pages, and it's on word magic. And it is just one of the most profound things I have ever read. And I just have to share it with you. So it's only 5 or 6 chapters, so I'm going to do a video or two each day of a chapter. And starting probably today or tomorrow. And, yeah. So that's what's coming up. Have a good day.